Hi there, welcome to my views and news. Thank you for joining the live chat session. Three news stories which we will discuss in this video. Let me welcome the participants. Tigisti joined after some time, after a long time, rather. How are you, Tigisti? Where have you been? Hope you're doing fine. Bashe here too. Bashe says, Hi, Mr. Sajid. How are you? I'm fine, Bashe. How are you? Dark Star. Always the one who asks questions at the start says, have the numerous coup attempts during Abiy's early tenure made him more paranoid? Is this the reason he frequently alleges new coup plots nowadays? Guracha Bati joined too says, Abiy is one brave fellow. The guest says, you look great. I took break from social media. Well, just tell me how to take a break, by the way. I am on vacation, you can say, but still I'm working. How do you manage your break? I mean, do you go just totally off air? Maka Dori says, Hi. Surafal Mehari says, How are you, Saj? How are you doing? I'm fine, Surafal. Lobak Dangolo joined, another viewer I have not seen in recent weeks. Is a member too. Welcome, Lobak Dangolo. How are you? Ephraim Tisfai says, Salam Sajid. Stay blessed, Ephraim Tisai. Kidane Birhane, third member joined. He says, Hello Sajid, it isn't too early today's live. Yeah, we're doing lives earlier these days because of the time difference in the area where I'm staying these days. Maka Dori says, Thank you for your everything you're doing. Thank you, Maka. Musi twins join to Sam Fid says Sajid holidaying with his side chick. I have no side chick. If you know anyone who is ready to be my side chick, I am here. I have no side chick, by the way. Tegesti says, I do listen news lightly but not fully involved and go outdoors in nature for mental break. That's good. That's great. There were three news stories. Firstly, Imabi is due to visit Sudan tomorrow. Confirmation from Sudanese news sources. No word from Ethiopian side, but Sudanese news sources are confirming. What is the agenda? He will visit Port Sudan, the headquarter of Al Burhan's government. Al Burhan's government mistrusts Ethiopia, sees it as supportive of RSF. So why is Abiy visiting Sudan? Hassan Sheikh arrived in Asmara a few hours ago. Are we going to visit Port Sudan? What is the agenda? 4 points I want to share about Abiy's visit to Sudan. Secondly, US ambassador to Ethiopia spoke today about kidnapping for ransom in Amhara, Oromia border areas. Interestingly, the US ambassador accused criminal elements. And lastly, Somaliland deputy of foreign minister today spoke about Somaliland talks, which were held in December. And a day after these talks, which were held in Djibouti, Somaliland signed a controversial MOU with Ethiopia. And Djibouti accused Somaliland of betraying Djibouti. Deputy Foreign Minister of Somaliland today spoke a little about what happened in those talks between Somalia and Somaliland in late December. Was any progress made there? Kidane Birhane says, Hello Sajid, do you have some information about TPLF's dialogue within the party? It's ongoing, I think, a break because I think tomorrow TPLF leaders, Tigray leaders will meet with African Union observers. And I think the day after tomorrow, the dialogue will resume. It's ongoing, I think. So we'll update you once dialogue is over and we get information from inside. Hassan Muhammad joined, says hello. How are you, Hassan? Dark Star says, Sajid, what do you think about regional forces not being integrated while the government claims they are? Well, I did a video on that. Agonafir joined to welcome Agonafir. 2 hours ago, I did a video. I told you 10,000 new recruits have undergone military training in Somali region. They are members of Somali Leo Police, which is Somali Special Force. So special forces in the Somali region were not dismantled. I have been saying since last year, if you remember, I've been saying that main target of this disbandment of regional special forces was Amhara Special Force. And you saw it has been confirmed. And Amhara Special Force, government wanted to disband it, but decision backfired. ASF members, even the chief of ASF, the JNL, Tafira Mamu, has joined FANO. So it was a bad move, wrong decision by the government. No other regional special forces are being dismantled. They are being given new names, I think, or they're working as part of other forces in the region. Let's start with yours. Abiy, PM Abiy, due to visit Sudan. I did a video on Hassan Sheikh's visit of Eritrea. He arrived in Eritrea a few hours ago. You can watch that video. I tried to analyze this development. But in this live chat, we'll talk about PM Abiy's visit of Sudan. As I said earlier, in Sudan, now there are two centers of power. Al-Burhan government, based in Port Sudan, and RSF, based in Darfur. It's in control of large parts of Khartoum, too, Bari as well. But Al-Burhan's government is internationally recognized government. RSF lacks recognition. RSF is backed by UAE, Chad, and some say Ethiopia too. Ethiopia is a key ally of the United Arab Emirates. Al-Burhan has not been on good terms with Ethiopian PM Abiy. We know that because when Burhan somehow managed to escape Khartoum and based his government in Port Sudan, he visited neighboring countries. Ethiopia was the last country visited by Al-Burhan. So Al-Burhan government mistrusts Ethiopia, that Ethiopia could be supportive of the rapid support force. And we know that in 2021, when there was war ongoing in northern Ethiopia, Sudanese military took advantage of the internal conflict in Ethiopia. It took back Al-Fashaga. 95% of Al-Fashaga came back under Sudanese military control. Last week, PM Abiy spoke at the parliament and he mentioned Sudan. He said that though Al-Fashaga was taken militarily by Sudanese military in 2021, and now Ethiopia can do that too. It can take Al-Fashaga by force in a few hours, but it won't. It won't stab in the back of its neighbor. So Al-Fashaga is one of outstanding disputes between the two sides. Good, I think it's not relevant in this discussion between Abiy and Al-Burhan. Secondly, rapid support force is rapidly advancing. We know that it has managed to reach close to Ethiopian border. At one time, it managed to capture Al-Dindar, which is border with Ethiopia, but I think then it was pushed away from Al-Dindar. RSF is set to reach Ethiopian border. What will Ethiopia do? What is Ethiopian position? When PM Abiy spoke at the parliament last week, he said that Ethiopia is neutral. It is not going to intervene in any form in Sudan. Is Abiy visiting Sudan, Port Sudan, to assure Al Burhan government that Ethiopia is not taking any sides, it is neutral. And thirdly, we know that Ethiopia is selling electricity to Sudan. For the last 2 years, Sudan did not pay uh, for this electricity. Now, Sudan owes $90 million to Ethiopia. $90 million. Ethiopia is still supplying power to Sudan, uninterrupted power supply ongoing. Ethiopia says that Sudan, its neighbor, it does not want to stop supply of electricity to Sudan because there is problem in Sudan. So this issue could be raised too. But very importantly, another key development is happening in the region, and that is Ethiopia and South Sudan have been in talks. Ethiopia is willing to give a loan to South Sudan. Why? Because we know that South Sudan uses Port Sudan port to export its oil. The oil pipeline from South Sudan passes through RSF controlled areas onwards to Port Sudan, which the port is used to export oil by South Sudan. South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Djibouti years ago reached a deal that an alternative pipeline should be built through Ethiopia to Djibouti so that South Sudan has an alternative fuel export route available to. South Sudan is facing pressure now because now the oil pipeline which transports oil from South Sudan passes through RSF controlled areas too. RSF wants its share too. Ethiopia giving a loan to South Sudan, and soon work is going to start reportedly on building an alternative pipeline from South Sudan through Ethiopia to Djibouti. If it happens, if pipeline is fully built, it means that Sudan could be a victim. Its economy could suffer. Sudan earns money. It earns transit fees from South Sudan. Ethiopia is looking to get that transit fee which Sudan is earning from South Sudan. That is why Ethiopia ready to give a loan to South Sudan, though Ethiopia itself is in talks with IMF and World Bank for a bailout package. But if South Sudan starts using Ethiopian territory to transport oil, it would be a big economic success for Ethiopia because this transit fee will be charged forever. So Ethiopia will have a permanent source of income. Sudan obviously is concerned that it could lose a source of earning if South Sudan diverts its oil exports from Port Sudan towards Ethiopia. So this is another important issue which is going to be discussed. And lastly, a government is being established in Sudan. Several initiatives are ongoing. In Ethiopia, a few days ago, the Kadum leaders met. Abdullah Hamdok was here. Other leaders were here too. Then in Egypt, some leaders met. Civilian leaders, leaders of political parties. They want to form a government in Sudan, a government with participation of military and politicians. US Westerners also want some sort of government in Sudan because now military is in full control. Westerners, others, they want a civilian come military government. That is why they want Al Burhan to reach a deal with politicians for a government for a transitional period. What will be RSF's position if such a government is formed? Discussions are going, and this is one of the main issues. RSF, Sudanese military talks collapsed. They held several rounds of discussions. Al Burhan and Hamati were due to meet in Uganda. Yoweri Museveni had invited the two leaders, But then RSF made some rapid advances towards Sennar State, towards Gidaraf too. That just undermined the initiative which was being led by Yoweri Museveni. So no meeting is now likely to happen between Al Burhan and Hamati. A lot is happening. I think Ethiopia wants to be relevant in what is happening in its neighborhood. Eritrea hosted Sudanese leaders, Egypt hosting Sudanese leaders, Saudi Arabia too, Chad as well, Kenya, South Sudan, Ethiopia, all have been hosting these Sudanese leaders of warring parties to be relevant in this issue in their neighborhood. So update you in coming videos when the two leaders meet in Port Sudan, hopefully tomorrow. Then we'll update you more about the meeting. General Combs says, our brother, the RSF will soon take control of entire Sudan in just after a few months. Let's see. RSF supported by TDF mercenaries, someone is saying. This is what RSF said. No, the RSF said the TDF was supporting military, Sudanese military, if you remember. RSF issued a statement, and then TPLF rejected the statements, saying that it was not backing any party. Mahdar says, what is the difference between Ethiopia and Sudan? Ethiopia thinks that they are in a better position, but both countries have internal conflict. Well, Ethiopia is in a much, much better state, no comparison. Sudan is virtually split into two countries. And not they're not just two centers of power in Sudan. Main centers of power definitely are RSF and SAF. There are several other groups too, which are centers of power, small centers of power, local militias, ethnic groups, then outsiders, external factors, foreign countries which have involvement. Sudan is basically a mess now. Ethiopia is in a much better situation, I think. Lilo, I'll update you once I have confirmed news. Secondly, was US ambassador to Ethiopia, Arvind Masinga, today issued a statement about kidnapping for ransom, which is now becoming a routine affair in Ethiopia, that on Amhara-Oromia border, mostly on Oromia side of the border, people are kidnapped and then ransom is demanded. Families have to pay ransom. Security forces are helpless here. The matter is now so serious that US Embassy issued a statement today. More than 100 students were kidnapped, last week. I did a video on that. Debark University students were kidnapped. They're still missing. Ransom is being demanded. Their families trying to raise money to get their loved ones freed. Interestingly, the US Embassy linked these kidnapping for ransom incidents to the ongoing conflicts in Oromia and Amhara. But because of the conflicts, the embassy said, criminals have been emboldened and now they are kidnapping people and demanding ransom. It means that the US government is not blaming armed groups for kidnapping for ransom. And some abductees who were abducted in recent months, they say they were kidnapped by Ola, by Shane, they call Shane. US Embassy saying criminal elements have been emboldened. The US is giving clearance to Ola that Ola is not involved in these kidnapping for ransom cases. By the way, on my website newsedis.com, a user wrote an article about his cousin who was kidnapped for I think 44 days. He remained in custody. You can read that article. That was first-hand account of a man who was kidnapped. Yesterday, another user sent a very informative article about economy. Johannes is his name. It was a learning to read that article. I published it today in opinion section of newsedis.com. It's about Ethiopian economy. It's about the claims made by the government that economy is progressing, GDP is expanding. So this viewer's viewpoint is also interesting to read. US seems to be exonerating the Oromo Liberation Army, FANO, etc. FANO has not been involved in kidnapping for ransom. It has been involved in collecting toll taxes. That's what we know. That it has been threatening Amhara businessmen too, that they should support FANO. I know that. But I am not aware of kidnapping for ransom being being committed by FANO. But Ola is accused of being involved in kidnapping for ransom. Maybe since US mediated between Ola and the government, so it did not, that's why it did not accuse Ola. It's the criminal elements. US hopes to be a mediator once again between Ola and government. But again, I would say some abductees, they accuse Ola, that Ola, groups affiliated with Ola, they're behind these kidnapping for ransom incidents. The issue is so high, the issue is so important that it is being highlighted by the US embassy in Ethiopia. And US, by the way, is interfering in Ethiopian internal matters. Or it is issuing a statement about kidnapping for ransom in Ethiopia. Ethiopian government silent. Ethiopian government should also issue a statement about the mental health condition of Joe Biden and his challenger, Donald Trump. The two just made a mockery of themselves and American system of government a few days ago when they held a debate. So, but Ethiopia never issues statements about internal matters of the US. US is quick to issue statements. Why? Because Ethiopia is one of the major recipients of US aid, US grants. Ethiopia is one of the main recipients in entire Africa for years. When aid comes, obviously some influence comes as well. Lastly, viewers, Somaliland Deputy Foreign Minister spoke today. Her name is Roda Ilbe. Abdi Karim says, "Hi Sajid, it seems Abiy is giving up MOU with Musa Abdi." Abdi Karim is a member too. Welcome, Abdi Karim. I don't know, but too early. Abiy is keeping all the options open. Playing smart so far. But let's see what the final outcome would be. We'll have to wait. Rhoda, her name is Rhoda, I think. Rhoda Elmi. She's Deputy Foreign Minister of Somaliland. These days, Somaliland and Djibouti are not on good terms. Strong statements, war of words between the two sides. Djibouti has been criticizing Somaliland since January when Somaliland signed MOU with Ethiopia, because Djibouti hosted Somaliland President Musa Abdi and Somali President Hassan Sheikh. A day after that meeting, Somaliland signed MOU with Ethiopia. Djibouti criticized Musa Abdi. Then a few days ago, we heard from Somaliland spokesperson of the government, and he said that Djibouti was interfering in Somaliland's internal matters. It was arming, sponsoring, financing a militia. I did a video on that. I told you about some Gada Barsi youths and Somalisa youths were allegedly being trained by Djibouti's military close to Somaliland's border. And people say that these trained fighters could infiltrate Odal zone of Somaliland, which is border with Djibouti, with Ethiopia as well. That's why Somaliland concerned. Uh, and I told you in the video today that some MPs of Djibouti, they have some MPs of Somaliland have Djibouti's passports. Whenever they travel abroad, they travel on Djibouti passports. Djibouti has influence in Somaliland. Rhoda Ilmi said today that when Hassan Sheikh and Musawi Abdi met in Djibouti in December last year, nothing was discussed about union, about federation. Rather, welcome Kira, member join. Special welcome to members. If you want to be a member, click the link given in description section of this video. Rhoda says that no progress was made about forming of a federation or a union between Somalia and Somaliland, and it was not discussed when Musawi Abdi and Hassan Sheikh met in Djibouti in December last year. Rather, no progress was made, but for the sake of face saving, a statement was issued, committee was formed just to uh, satisfy the host, Ismail Umar, because Somaliland wanted a face saving for Ismail Umar. But Djibouti has been criticizing as if Ethiopia-Somaliland MOU undermined Somalia-Somaliland talks. It is not correct. No progress was ever made. Somaliland never talked about joining Somalia while discussions were held in Djibouti. Djibouti Somaliland relations are set to deteriorate in coming days. You could see more such statements. Djibouti is a casualty of Ethiopia Somaliland MOU. It wants to stop the MOU from being implemented. By the way, Ethiopia has made its position very clear. Whether it implements the MOU with Somaliland or not, it wants to use more than one port. It does not want to restrict itself to only Djibouti's ports. So Ethiopia might sign an agreement with another country, Somalia, Eritrea, Kenya, etc. Somaliland is definitely not a recognized country. But if Ethiopia is unable to gain access to sea to Somaliland, it will go for other options. It wants to have access to sea. This decision has been made. Djibouti will have to understand that Ethiopia has made a decision to divert part of its cargo to other ports. It should offer a better deal to Ethiopia, which it is doing reportedly. Special messaging underway. But Somaliland's offer is more attractive. Why? Because Ethiopia can easily control Somaliland. Ethiopia will have more influence in Somaliland. There are not many foreign bases in Somaliland. And Somaliland is offering a lot to Ethiopia. General Komso says, Sajid, the PM will side with Somaliland, MOU will be signed. He is just giving Hassan Sheikh time to get used to it. Let's see. Let's see. Hira says if ransom money is being received through a national bank account by the perpetrator, can we say the government is behind these activities? Well, government is not behind these activities, but people are scared. I mean, when abductors share details of an account to abductee's family, the abductee's family sends money to that account. The abductee's family does not disclose this information to authorities. Why? Because if the authorities are involved, the abductees could be killed. It has happened. Government is helpless here. Security forces are helpless. They cannot ensure, they cannot guarantee the safe release of these abductees. That is why the abductors use banking channels to receive this ransom money. It's not that government is part of such kidnapping for ransom activities. There could be some elements, but government, not as an institution, is behind such kidnapping for ransom incidents. So 33 minutes have passed. I think we should end the live chat session. We'll update you tomorrow about Abiy's visit of Sudan. What is he up to? Secondly, Hassan Sheikh's visit of Asmara critical too. I think he's there to brief Isas Worki about developments between Ethiopia and Somalia. Talks held in Turkey. We're monitoring that too. Thirdly, Djibouti, Somaliland tensions rising. Somaliland accusing Djibouti of arming a militia, training a militia close to Odal, through which Ethiopia wants to pass to gain access to sea. Thanks for watching. It was wonderful to be part of this live chat with you. I'll be back tomorrow. Till then, bye bye.